Well, at times, I want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia. And as always, we are broadcasting from Atlanta. I'm Ansony Sieh in today. My guest is Honorable Dixon Seboe. As I said earlier, he is the representative of District number 16. He is also the chairman on the Committee for Banking and Currency in the lower house at the Liberia legislature. He is comfortably seated. Let me bring in the honorable right there. You have him. Honorable Dixon Seboe, welcome to Focus on Liberia. It's my pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be a guest on your show. I think it's going to be a nice exchange, and I'm grateful that you have invited me in so that we can discuss the issues that you have got as it relates to the printing of currency in our country. Thank you again. I'm humble.
All right, Dad, you have him. He's humble. He's happy to be here. But you might be wondering, why are we here to discuss? Our topic for the discussion, the printing of 48.7 billion new family banknotes. They call it. He's going to tell us what the words mean. What is the family and banknotes? He's here. He is not only the chairman of banking and currency in Liberia by profession, he is a banker. So he's the right guy to talk to concerning the printing of this money. For segment of the discussion, we will first of all look at the prudentiality of printing money by the government of Liberia. Also, we'll look at legislative inner working in the printing of money. And also, we'll talk about the politics of printing money in Liberia. He is also a politician. We'll stay away from the politics a little bit, but we'll talk a little bit because some people have been bringing politics in the printing of this money. Well, let's get started. Honorable Dixon, our tradition here is there are people, usually hear the name Honorable Days, but they don't know much about you. So please, for the sake of our listening audience, who is Honorable Dixon Seboe?
I think you've already done the introduction. Again, I am
Okay.
Dixon W. Seboe. W is for Wurawi, and I come from Nukutown. I am fortunate to be the one representing the district that covers the entire borough of Nukutown. That district is referred to as district number 16, and it covers Borman's Bridge. Of course, I know you understand the topographic of Nukutown from Borman Bridge to St. Paul's Bridge, hitting the Stoughton Creek all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. So that entire environment from Borman's Bridge to St. Paul's Bridge, Stoughton Creek on the other hand, to the Atlantic Ocean, that is the entire district number 16. And I'm fortunate to be the one representing them, that district now. I've been in office. This is my 4th year running. I've been in office since January of 2018. I'm someone from a humble beginning. Again, I was born in Nukutown in Funde, and I grew up throughout in Nukutown. Had an opportunity to go to college at the University of Liberia. I also went to Cotonou University to do a master's degree in finance. I had an opportunity to travel to the U.S. Periodically to do a 25 months program at the Graduate School of Banking at Colorado University, America's premier banking school. I had the opportunity to travel to Duke to do a graduate certificate in project management and risk management. So again, that is that from my academic background. From the experience in terms of work, I've started my actual professional working in 2001, serving as treasurer of EcoBank. I also treasurer EPA Bank for a short while. And then I joined the Ministry of Finance on the Senior Executive Service program recruited by the World Bank, where I served as the head of small tax first, and then the head of large tax, and then served as Commissioner of Customs for 2 years between 2012 and 2014. And then I served as advisor to the Minister of Finance for about a year and a half, and then moved back to private life, working with MTM Liberia, Lone Star Cell. I work in 2 capacities. First, as the senior manager of mobile money, and then I served as compliance officer for Liberia, senior compliance officer for Liberia and Guinea-Bissau, before I moved back to politics. And so that whole time is just about around another 20 years, ranging from 20 20
Oh my God. I hope the internet is not going to do this to us. Mr. Seboe, it seems to be you froze that. The internet might have dropped. Folks in cyberspace, bear with us here. Connectivity is always a challenge when we have somebody from the homeland, but I think it's going to get well. Stay with us as we go into this interview. If you are just joining us, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Our guest, as you can see on the screen, is Honorable Dixon Seboe. I think he's going to join us back. This interview is going to be exciting. Again, let me remind you, we are here to talk about the printing of the new family banknotes in Liberia. He has just joined us. Honorable, the internet, I think, dropped that. So continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, so I think I'm stable right now. I mean, if it goes up, I'm going to come back. But so I was just giving you a background of myself, both academically and my experience in terms of professional working. And so again, that's who I am. Today, I serve in the Liberian National Legislature as, like I said, representative of Niku Town, District number 16. I serve as the chairman on banking and currency. This is my second term as chairman. The first 3 years, and I've been renamed as the chairman on banking and currency. I also serve at the executive committee, the committee on executive. I serve at the committee on foreign affairs, and I have now been appointed as member of the committee on. And so again, those are my portfolio I hold in the lower house. So again, thank you for the invite, and I'm humbled to be here.
Thank you. We are glad to have you. That is such an impressive resume there. You, a guy, who have been wearing so many hats. You are from Niku Town. I'm from there too. The road leading to the Nimlan Brothers School, there is a plum tree. Just about the time you leave the main road, a green house on the right-hand side, green. I live in that house, so we share something in common. We are all sons of the borough of Niku Town. But your middle name, Wawli, I think, correct me with the pronunciation there. My name is Sieh, meaning good. So I'm a good guy, but tough. Tell me about your middle name. What does that mean?
You say your name is Sieh, meaning good. My name is Wawli. I'm told that when I was born, my father was doing a very good job, and so he had a lot of monies around.
Money, yeah.
And so Wawli, as you know, means vomit money or waste money, and so. Yeah. But that name actually came from my my grand uncle. I was named after him. The understanding is that when I was born, or when he was educated, and so he said anyone who was going to be named after him was going to be very, very smart and educated. So again, our tradition is what we go by. So again, that's the background of my own name.
All right, thank you, folks. Let's get started here. We wanted to make ourselves comfortable before we go into the very serious discussion. So let's start with the first segment of this topic that we are discussing, which is the prudentiality of printing money. What makes it prudent, for the House of Legislature to approving, the printing of money, and for the government to request the printing of money. So my first question on this is that why is it always necessary for a country or a government to print money?
Well, so let me start by saying this. The printing of currency, printing of money, is one of the functions of any central bank.
Okay.
So as and when the central bank thinks it is necessary to print money, they do print money. Okay. Of course, you follow a few weeks ago that President Biden put a $1.9 trillion relief bill into the house. And so every American who's a resident that have got tax record was given something like 1,400. That money was not money that was lying down in any reserve fund.
Okay.
It was monies that were also printed. And who did the printing? Of course, the Federal Reserve Bank works along with the Treasury and the printing house to print money. So I'm just bringing this example to tell you that it is a fundamental function of every central bank to print money. Any central bank that doesn't print money is not a central bank. So in our case, the central bank have said that based on all of the economics that they have proven, it is important for them to print money. And so as our jurisdiction requires, the central bank through the executive will make requests to the lower house or to the legislature to say, look, we need to print money. So what are some of the things that the central bank came up with? The central bank is saying, look, the first thing we have all agreed is that because of the way we use our currency in this country, monies that we print will not last more than 3 to 5 years because we use them too much. In the US, people use cards more. So the monies do not wear out. So that was one of the reasons why the central bank said, look, it's important for us to print money now. Second reason is that when the monies were printed before, they were printed to change all of the currency that was in circulation.
Okay.
But the former central bank governor and his co-officers did not do that. And so today in our country, you have two $5 notes that appear in different shape and form. You have two $20 note, two $10 note, $200 note. So it made sense for us to ensure, according to the central bank, that if monies must look the same, let us do away with the two shades of money we have. Let's have a single shade. And so that was one of the reasons why they requested. Now you are showing exactly. When you look at those monies, you see that there are two different $100 bill, two different $50 bill, two different. That was one of the other rationale for requesting to print new family of banknote. Now, when they say new family of banknote, it means we want to get rid of the banknotes that we have now, so that we have a brand new set of banknotes. Take, for example, you were around when we used dual coin.
I was
when
around.
We left from exactly when we left from using dual coin, our first money we started using was the JJ Rabble. You remember the JJ Rabble banknotes?
Yeah.
And then after the Civil War, when the interim government under Amos Sawyer felt that there was a need to de-dollarize, he said, okay, let's come up with the Liberty. So the Liberty was a new family of banknotes. That's how we have graduated from using different family of banknotes to other ones. So right now, what the central bank requested is to print new family, new kind of money that would look completely different from what we have. And so the request was launched to us since December of last year, and we've been working in different committee rooms. And the reason why the request is made is because our constitution says the legislature is the only one that can meet and print monies. So for the central bank at any point in time to print, they must request the legislature to give them that approval. And so,
Honorable Dixon, let me come in. So now the figure that the central bank, in consultation with the president, is asking for you legislators, legislators to approve is for the 8.7 billion. What formed the basis of this figure? Is it because this is the equivalent of the quantum of money right now in the market? I want to know.
Okay, so fundamentally, we use the US dollars and Liberian dollar in parity on our market. I mean, anyone can use US dollars and use Liberian dollars. As a matter of fact, almost 90% of all of our transactions are in US dollars. 10% will be in Liberian dollars. That way it implies. So what the central bank did was to give us a breakdown of all the monies they have. As it is today, the total volume of monies in the market is around 25.8 billion.
Okay.
25.88 billion is the total of the monies in the market. That's the first thing. The second thing is the central bank made a projection that over the next 3 years, there will be growth in activities, economic activities. To suffice for that, they made a projection of about 6.1 billion. Okay. They also made a projection of increase in reserve for the commercial banks and the central bank own reserve of another 5 billion. The central bank is also saying that over the next 2-3 years, because transactions will grow, let's make a projection of about between $2 to $3 billion, because mind you now, there are more people now getting in the job market. 10 years ago, the amount of people who were working and using Liberian dollars compared to now, there is a big growth. And so the central bank made allocation for all of those growth that will happen within the next 3 years. Based on those, they've decided that, look, our total monies that we need between now and the next 3 years in the market to save some for reserve requirement level, save that, or some that will save in the central bank reserve vault, and all of those, we need a total of 48.7 billion. And this is how it works. For example, with time, when monies deteriorate in terms of their usage, the central bank have to take up the mutilated money and put in new monies. So they made reservation for all of those, and that's what culminated to the amount of 48.7 billion dollars that they have requested for printing.
Honorable Dixon, Honorable Seboe.
Yes, sir.
So this figure, from what you just explained, is also so because of what the central bank or the government see as activities that are picking up. In other words, there will be growth, and so there will be economic activities that will back up their future figure at some time in the future. But
exactly,
if you look at pretty much all the projections that have been made for Liberia, I can say to you that nearly 90% always come short. One example is the issue of the budget. We always having budget shortfall. Even with the projection of growth, we always falling short. So how can the government be sure that this one going to be right for which you are printing this amount, because you're basing it on projection?
So this is the first thing. When estimates, when projections are being made, they are made based on some assumptions. So take, for example, in terms of the volume of monies.
Right.
Today, the central bank have said 5 years ago, the amount of economic activities, today the economic activities, considering the volume of money, cannot withstand the economic activities. So in most times, we have cried that the banks do not have monies. It is because the central bank have said that the economic activities have grown beyond the volume of money. That's one. Secondly, the central bank is saying that because there are more people now who are using monies, so we need to be able to increase the volume of monies that we have on the market. Mind you, the 48.7 billion that is being printed is not going to be put into the market all. It's going to be put into the market based on the growth pattern and based on mutilated monies that will be withdrawn from the market and replaced subsequently. Now, when it comes to the issue of projections, I agree with you. When projections are made, all of the others imperative that you put in place must be met before those monies can come. Take, for example, you talk about budget shortfall. When the budget is made based on assumptions. So in most cases, we have made our budget based on the economic activities that will generate revenue, that will generate taxes. Now, if one of those sources of revenue are not, is not actualized, it will imply that we may not get that other revenue coming in. Take, for example, we base our budget on iron ore. If the prices of iron ore drop at any point in time, even though we have budgeted to make 70 billion in terms of revenue from iron ore, when the price of iron ore drops, we will not make that same 70 million. We may make 60 million.
So then, Honorable Dixon,
So I'm just
yeah, learn your thought there. Learn your thought there so I can come in. Learn your thought there so I can come in.
So I'm just saying that projections may not necessarily come to full actualization, but it is imperative that people make projection because that's the guiding principle when it comes to how budgets are made and how monies are printed in the future. Projections will be made. What is imperative is for us to be able to make sure that those projections come as close as possible to reality.
Yeah, and you know, because you explain quite honestly that you know the reason that informed that figure is based on projection, looking at the economic indicators and activities that at some time the economy will grow, and this particular amount of money will be backed up by economic activities. And that's what I brought in because if you look at all the projections, even there has been a 12 consecutive quarters, all right, of economic decline in the country. And that can also be like a ripple effect on other things. So what are the economic activities now, all right, that are ongoing in the economy at this time that suggests to the government that, look, to a certain extent, even if we'll not reach, you know, the actual numbers we're basing the projection on, we will come so close. What are those activities?
So I think we are talking two things now. I mean, let's get let's get it very clear.
Okay.
Projection in terms of budget is different from projection in terms of money supply and money demand on the market.
My understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is your area, that when a country is printing money, the country is printing the money, and that money must be backed by economic activities. That is the equivalent of the value of money. So, is that correct?
No. It's not just that.
But it's a part of it.
We need money in the economy for yeah, it will be part of it. But we need money in the economy for transaction purpose.
So what constitutes the value of the money?
No.
I'm told that is the economic activities, the economic strength of the country.
No. So it's just one side of it. Okay. So for example, today as we speak,
right.
Even if for example the economy was not growing in terms of the gross domestic product, the GDP is not growing, the total transaction levels are not growing, we will still need monies to transact.
Okay.
You understand my point?
Yeah, I'm getting you. Getting you.
So if we need monies to transact,
right.
So if we need monies to transact, the first thing the central bank wants to do is to see how much money do we need to transact. Based on the central bank's own portfolio and the total monies in the economy, the central bank have said that we need this amount over the next 3 years. You understand? Right. So that is from the monetary perspective. What I'm getting from you is you are going more from the economic, in terms of economic backing of our printing. I am saying to you today, as the economy grown, now if you look at what the IMF has done along with the finance ministry, they have projected that our economy is going to grow to 3-point-something% in terms of growth. That will mean that economic activities will begin to get up. Are we going to get to where we were before Ebola? No, we're not going to get there before, because before Ebola, the economy was growing at the rate of 8%. Now, so the growth in economic activity, or growth in GDP, and growth in the monetary supply are two different factors, even though they were intertwined at one point in time in terms of the activities that will back up our printing of currency. So I'm saying to you that we need to look at them from those two perspectives, because if we want to discuss supply of money, we will not mix it with the GDP growth, even though at the end of the day, if GDP grows to a particular extent, it means economic activity is growing, which means that we'll need more money in the market. But from what we have seen so far, the projections that have been made in terms of the supply of money is contingent on the growth that is being experienced now and the growth that is going to be experienced from the monetary perspective in the next 2 and 3 years. That's why the central bank has decided to print the amount of money they are asking to print.
So, Honorable Dixon, Seboe, somewhere around 2020, and correct me on the figures, the total money in circulation we read was around $23 billion. Now, this is 2021, and the central bank or the government is asking for the printing of 48. That is more than double. All right. So are we suggesting, or is government projecting that the government growth will double in 3 years from now? Is that what it is for which you're printing this total amount of money?
No. So I just told you, I just gave you a breakdown.
Yes.
Let me just give you the numbers. Let me just give you the numbers very well. Okay. Today, the total number of Liberian dollars circulating is in excess of 25 billion.
25 billion, 25.8 billion you said earlier.
Exactly. So when it comes to the issue of the government of Liberia, not just this government in passing, have been borrowing from the central bank consistently into the reserve of some commercial banks. So this printing that is being done will also replace monies that were being taken from other commercial banks in terms of their reserve balances and even the central bank's own balances. You understand what I'm saying?
So does that suggest that the government is printing money so I can pay back what I owe the commercial banks? Is that one of the reasons?
No. Of course, listen now. If you are printing monies and commercial banks' reserve have been depleted over time, we need to ensure that we be able to print those, because the Liberian dollars we are talking about.
Oh, sure, I agree. But who depleted those commercial banks' reserve? My understanding is the government. Is that true?
It's not just this government. It's government in passing and all. Okay. It is this government that have said, do not borrow again from the central bank. Okay. And again, I need to say hats off to the president. The president made a speech at the beginning of the last year and said, going forward, we will not credit again from the central bank. When the government credits from the central bank, you think where the money is coming from? It's coming from reserves. I mean, the central bank does not have our own money. The central bank have commercial bank reserves. So this printing also makes allocation for those reserves that have been depleted by previous governments and this government. We need to be frank when we have these kind of discussions. You understand?
I'm following, but then I'm curious now, Honorable Dixon, that will the government now fall in a situation of needing money again and going to the various commercial banks and borrowing money to run their liquidity down?
No. So what has happened previously is what we are putting stop to now. We are trying to do a reset of the entire monetary scheme to say, look, going forward, let us make sure that we are liquid enough and that we do not go into reserves of other commercial banks as were done in past governments. We need to set it up. I mean, and this is not just based on taking it off the top of our head. It is based on the economics of the demand and supply of money. That's why we are going and doing what we are doing. So I'm saying to you that the 48.7 billion requested is not just monies to put strictly into the market. When you print monies, the central bank herself, there must be reserve that she must keep by herself in her reserve board, so that tomorrow, when the money you are using today are wound up, because in 3 years, when the money is with here.
So I'm curious, Honorable, what did current government and previous government did to this particular money for which you have to print money now to solve the problem?
No. So you see, government is continuing to issue, and we are not blaming any previous government and current government.
It's not a matter of blame. I just want to know what they did with the money. We, the Liberian people, need to know what exactly our government did with the money.
Government was being run, and mind you, it's not just Liberia. Every country in the world, when governments are being run based on the liquidity position of central banks, banks will always give government monies for their operations. That is normal in every country, even in the great US. So this has happened consistently over the period. What he has brought to us now is that because we do not have enough money into the system, so commercial banks and even the central bank's reserve have been short. So we are printing additional to make sure that all of those shortages that we have over the period they can be paid for. I mean, and that's it. I'm just giving you the total breakdown of the total monies that we are printing. So this is not just common to Liberia. It is common to all countries around the world. I mean, if commercial banks have been lending to government, it will get to a particular point in time that the government will have to pay. I mean, and this is not uncommon. This is normal central banking activity we are discussing. It is war of politics.
Thank you, Honorable Dixon Seboe. Honorable Dixon Seboe is our guest. I'm enjoying the discussion here. If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. I'm Ansony Sieh hosting. We are glad to have Honorable Dixon Seboe, representative for District number 16. That is my district in my hometown of Ninkrootown. And he also having to be the chairman of the House's Committee on Banking and Currency. But I'm going to make him to swear. This is the area, so I think he's comfortable here.
So if you allow me, Anson, let me give you a total breakdown.
Do that.
Then you will see where we got to. So I said about 25 point. So around 25.5, 25.8 for the total monies in supply right now in demand. An allocation provision for commercial banks Liberian dollar operating accounts of 6.3 billion. Then a portion of the operating account of 4 billion. I'm giving you the total breakdown for the 8.7 billion.
Yes.
Then allowance for medium-term growth. That is to say, between now and the next 3 years, the growth in economic activities around $6.1 billion.
Okay.
Then another provision for de-dollarization. What we are saying is we want to use more Liberian dollars than US dollars. Now, if you got to use more Liberian dollars than US dollars, then you got to make that provision. The central bank makes another provision of 2 billion for that 3 years period that will de-dollarize. That is to say, instead of us using more US dollars, let's use more Liberian dollars. If we decide to use more Liberian dollars, it means we have to have more Liberian dollars on hand. And then the last provision of a provision for vote holdings. Vote holding to mean the central bank herself must have additional money holding of 5 billion. If you take out of that, the total amount is going to come to 48.7 billion. And that was the request that was made. And mind you, the central bank doesn't request based, just off the top of our head. It's based on their economic activities and the monetary supply and demand that has been made over the period. That's why they made this request. And that's why we have gone through and given them the relevant approval we've done.
Thank you so much. And then let me read something for you here. The new family banknotes will maintain some of the old denominations of $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, and $500. A new currency denomination of $1,000. Why, in your wisdom, approving this will make sense economically for our people?
Okay, so we already have denominations between 5 to 500.
But I saw 1,000.
Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing. I say I saw 1,000.
Already, as it is now today. I'm saying now, as it is today, we already have denominations that run between 5 to 500.
To 500, yeah.
The rationale for 1,000 is that the central bank have said, look, our largest denomination, which is 500, is less than $5 US. So for the purpose of store of value, for the purpose of portability, we need to introduce the 1,000 bill. So take, for example, Anson today. If you came to Liberia and you wanted to carry 20,000 Liberian dollars, for example, in your pocket, if you do not have the 500 bill, and you were having only $20 bill, it means you'll be carrying whole suitcase along with you.
Yeah, certainly.
So for the purpose of store of value and portability, the central bank have said we need to print up to 1,000 bill because it will mean that our largest denomination will be around $5 US. That was the rationale for the request. And as legislators and as economists, from the initial stage, we said it did not make sense. We were coming from the perspective of the susceptibility of our money being counterfeited. The economists have said, and the central bank have said, look, all monies in the world are being counterfeited. What you need to do is to ensure that you have enough security on your money that will make it less likely for it to be counterfeited. But from the perspective of the idea of the store of value and the portability part of it, we needed to print 1,000. So as it is now today, of course, a conference committee has been set up because the version of our resolution from the lower house and the version of the resolution from the upper house are different. So we have set up a conference committee that will look at those two documents and then bring in the issue of the 1,000 based on the perspective of saying that if we printed 1,000, it will imply that our highest denominator will be at the equivalent of $5, which makes sense economically because of the issue of the store of value and from the perspective of portability. So that is where we are, and we're going to be discussing it when we meet in the conference committee to see what we can pass on the 1,000 issue.
Thank you so very much. And there are some questions I will ask, and the main reason is here I focus on Liberia. We have 3 goals: to educate, to elevate, and to promote. So some questions will be intended to educate the public about why you made certain decisions. All right. So let's come to the issue of the cost associated with the printing. From what we know, the estimated cost of printing the total amount of 48.733 billion is approximately 45.522 million. In your opinion, is this amount reasonable? Why should anybody accept this printing cost of 45.5 million as reasonable and not balloon or inflated?
Again, in fact, I think when you look at what we did when the central bank made a proposal, we have spoken to a lot of printing houses across the world.
Right.
And on an average, it costs 8 cents US dollars to print any bill. Even if they're $5 bill or $10 bill, it costs 8 cents US dollars to print on an average.
Okay.
Depending on the quality of prints that you have, sometimes it goes to, depending on the quality of print, the value of the quality of the notes that you have.
Right.
It will even cost you up to $1.20 US dollars to print any bill.
Okay. So
if you did the mathematics considering the volume you want to print, 45.3 million US dollars is a reasonable cost of printing of the 48.7 billion we want to print. Because we were taking an average of 8 cents per bill. And that was one of the reasons why the central bank decided to introduce the 1,000. Because when you bring when you bring in the 1,000, it even reduces the cost. It was because of the introduction of the 1,000 that's what caused the total amount to come to 45.3 million. If the 1,000 were not printed, the cost would even go higher than the 45.3 million. So again, I'm just giving you the rationale for bringing in the 1,000 print that we are talking about and the cost associated with printing. So it costs on an average 8 cents US dollars to print one leaflet of note. So if you print $5, that 8 cents. If you print $10, that 8 cents. You print 500, that 8 cents. So you will see when you do what we call the seigniorage, that is the cost for printing against the value of the dollar printed. Right. You will see that we will be losing on printing from the $20, the $50, the $100 up when you get towards the $500 printing. Based on the volume, that's time you'll be making some positive gains in the printing process. So again, I think the 45.8 so I think the 45.3 million is an average cost that will even be more if we're not printing the 1,000 bill or we're printing at the highest quality of monies. It will cost us even more.
All right, Honorable, let's come to this. This is what I also know. The estimated cost that you just talked about does not include domestic logistic requirements for the replacement exercise and the cost of the design, the quality, and the security feature. This is what we were told by the central bank governor, that this amount, the $45.5 million for the printing of the 48 does not include domestic logistic requirements for the replacement exercise that will be taking place and the cost of the design, the quality, and the security feature. Do you maintain that that cost was reasonable or is
So
reasonable.
I'm saying for the print alone, again, from what I know in terms of I was treasurer of EcoBank, and so treasury people are the people who manage cash in the bank.
Okay.
So I can tell you for a fact that I know about printing costs, and again, like I said, printing costs will range between 6 cents to as high as 60 cents to as high as $1.20 per note, based on the quality. So if we can get print at 8 cents per note, it is an average that is unsustainable. What the central bank trying to get to us to understand is when it comes towards the replacement process. Take, for example, those who are in Bokondire. Bokondire is in Sano County. I mean, of course, you are cool, man, so you understand where Bokondire is.
Yes, I know.
When
I went there
comes
before.
to Bokondire and other areas where they do not have banks, the cost of the replacement will be more costly. It will imply that central bank will have to open windows in those areas. They have to pay for security. They have to do all of the logistics involved. They are telling us that additional cost will be around 5 million, which is not part of the 45 point something million in terms of the printing cost. I am saying, is it justifiable? When we gave our approval, we asked that the central bank will have to come back to us to give justification on the additional cost in terms of logistics. Again, the central bank is independent. The central bank is giving us costs based on activities they have had before. We are not just going to say, yes, go and do it. We will say, give us the cost. The cost got to be justified. On the end of the printing cost, it makes sense. But in terms of the logistics, they will have to come again to us to justify, because that's the whole process. It is not just a one-time approval process. We got to go back and forth to ensure that we have value for money that the government is going to be spending. By the central bank herself, over 3 years period, the central bank can only afford 21 million in their budget. It will imply that we have to fund the printing of the money through the national budget. And so we need to ensure that we have value for money before giving that approval.
So again, Honorable Dixon, Seboe, this is what the central bank, and the reason I'm breaking this again is that I don't see the central bank of the government making full disclosure here. All right, the printing of the money is let me learn, Honorable, let me learn. The printing of the money is 45.5 million. The central bank came back and said that is just the printing. It's like I went to the printing press and I'm printing my newspaper. So that's per sheet, as you explained earlier. Per bank note that has been printed, that is just to print it. But the central bank is saying the design, the quality, and the security features of the money, not within the printing cost. So my question is, how much with this entire printing, replacing and destroying of the old bank note cost the Liberian taxpayer? I want you, the lawmakers.
I think we are missing X and nuts. I mean, again, for someone to make an assertion that the central bank is not doing full disclosure, in my view, I think is below the belt.
I'm the one saying it. So prove me wrong, because if you're doing an entire exercise, this is why the central bank
printing. Listen to me, answer. Today, as it is, if the central bank wanted to do mopping, for example,
right,
which is in their jurisdiction to do,
right,
if they wanted to do mopping exercise, it will cost them money. You understand me?
I know.
The central bank wanted to show a clear line between the actual cost of printing and other costs associated.
So you see my point? What I'm saying is that the central bank is supposed to tell us all of the estimated costs.
No. I think we are getting some things wrong here. I'm saying to you, as legislators, we are not going to give approval on things that will be kept in the darkness. The central bank have not even started a procurement process yet. Mind you, what the central bank has given us are just estimates. The total cost of printing and doing everything else will only come about after they start their own procurement process. All of these numbers are estimates in terms of the cost. After they should have been given the approval, they will begin a procurement process. In our approval process, we have told them that every line of the way, you have to come back to us to tell us in terms of who the vendor is going to be, what is the actual cost of printing. So until we get to that point, the total cost in terms of the actual cost they're going to use has not come to us yet. What has come to us is because if, for example, the quality of monies that they're going to print will be more of more value in terms of quality, 45.7 for 5 billion will not be the amount. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand you, Honorable.
No,
I was just eager. I was just curious. I was just eager and curious that, okay, the lawmakers, because I see it as an entire exercise, not only the printing aspect. I'm looking at, all right, you print the security feature, you bring it in the country, you replace it, the entire exercise. That's what I'm talking about. Now you are telling me, no, Ansony, we are only concerned about the printing process, and that's the cost. Did I get that right?
So our first desire is to see, you want to print 48.7 billion. What is the cost of print? They are telling us that if they took 8 cents per note, it will cost them 45.5 million.
Okay.
Now they have not started any procurement process yet, because no one starts to procure until they have got approval.
Okay.
Now that we are going to be giving our approval, I'm sure between now and the end of the week, we will have met in our conference committee and the full approval will be given. As and when the full approval is given, the central bank will begin the procurement process. It is within that procurement process they will have to come back to the house to tell us the total cost. Because mind you, as I said, significant portion of the printing will come from the budgetary allotment process. You understand me?
I understand you.
So at that time, we will know the actual amount. As of now, what we are getting from them is estimate on the printing cost just from the print, and estimate on the logistical and the distribution and the infusion of one of it. So these are still estimates until they can start the actual procurement process that will let us understanding what the total amount is going to be.
Thank you so very much. And Honorable Dixon, let's come to the issue of money shortage. We experienced that in a significant way of recent. My understanding is that was the reason the $4 billion were printed in the first place. All right. So, and we listen to some of you who are in the financial sector. One of the reasons that have been given continuously is the issue of covenant in the financial market. So this covenant issue that led to shortage of money, people holding money and keeping money, has that been resolved? And the second question is, how in any way the printing of money, I'm not saying that will be the solution, going to help in resolving this covenant crisis we've had that led to the shortage of money?
Okay, so let me start from this point. I'm on record as one of those who have said consistently that if we printed 100 billion, it will not solve our problem.
Yes.
Hello?
I'm listening to you. That's why I asked the question, because I heard you when you said that. Go ahead.
If by printing money, it will not solve the problem that we have had over the period. There are fundamental things that we must put in order. And that's why in our approval, we said that when you print, before you even start to deliver the new prints, you must put some things in place. Take, for example, why are people holding money? Someone said they do not have confidence in the bank. What do you mean about confidence? Oh, when we put our money in the bank, when we go back for it, we cannot get it. Why is it that way? I have said we need to do some other things concomitantly that the only way will solve the problem holistically. Take, for example, why will encourage me to carry my money in the bank if I got to carry my money in the bank and they will pay me less than 3% in terms of interest on my money? But when I go to borrow money from the bank, I will pay up to 18% or 20% to borrow money. Now, so I have told the central bank, and I have said it all time without numbers, that the first thing we need to do, we need to look at the interest rate. Because it's possible, because of interest rates, people don't want to carry their monies to the bank. The second thing we have to look at is our regime. Liberia is one of the only countries in the world that anyone can carry $50,000 check or $2 million Liberian dollars check.
I'm paying attention.
Hello?
I'm paying attention. Go ahead.
Or $2 million Liberian dollars check on the counter and withdraw. In the great US, nobody just goes on the counter and withdraws $10,000, $20,000. It doesn't happen. So until we are able to manage our cash over the counter very much, we will still have this issue. A third thing we need to look at is the issue of digitizing. Why are we withdrawing so much money from the bank? We are withdrawing money from the bank because we want to do transactions. Why can we not institute going forward that every business has a POS? Every business uses card. Every business uses mobile money. And set up a vibrant ecosystem that will ensure that when I pay mobile money to Answer, for example, Mr. Sieh, and he wants to use that money, he can use the money to another mobile money place without using cash along the chain. Until we are able to put all of these things in order, if we even printed 50 billion, eventually it will get siphoned into the system. People will not take their money back. So it's not just about printing money. It's about doing all of those things. Interest rate issue, setting limits in terms of withdrawal from banks and deposits, ensuring that we digitize fully. Because if we continue to use money at the rate we are using it, the money will get tuned up. When it gets tuned up, 3 years down the line again, the central bank will say, we got to print additional money again. It will be more costly to government and to the central bank. So we have got to look at the issue of interest rates. We have got to look at the issue of limits in terms of withdrawal from the total amount of monies anyone can withdraw from any account at any point in time. Let's move towards digitizing. Let's move towards using electronic monies because the world over is moving in that direction. I went to the US one point in time. Let me just lay this. I went to the US one point in time, and I chose, by that time, we're not using card in our country so much. So I took cash with me. And I went to shopping at Men's Warehouse, and I bought some coats. And my total bill came to about 1,200. And I took that cash from my pocket to use. You know that they call security on me because no one uses money at that level. In the US, they were asking me to use their own card. So we are saying the only way we will solve this problem is not just to print money, but to make sure that we deal with the issue of interest rates. We deal with the issue of limits on withdrawals and how we manage monies. We deal with the issue of digitizing our entire system. We deal with the issue of mobile monies. We will do all of these things together, then we will have solved the problem entirely. Because if we don't do it, we will ensure that we'll get the same place. Because if I even want to go change my money, and I don't keep my money in the bank because I don't like the interest rate, or I don't keep my money in the bank because there is no limit that will set me from withdrawing excess amount from the bank, eventually we'll get to the same point. It will not solve the problem. So the central bank will have to work on all of these things together, along with the finance people at the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of the Commerce. Let's work together to make sure that the entire system works and works more effectively. That's the only thing that's going to solve the liquidity problem we have gone through for a long time.
So on the issue of digitization, mobile money, electronic money, whatever nomenclature might be appropriate, you are somebody who works in the financial sector. You spend some time here in the US, so you know how effective that can be, so that it can minimize the mutilation of our banknote, to minimize the frequency of printing money. Should we expect a legislation from you, or is something that does not require any legislation?
So it does not require legislation. It requires regulation from the central bank. It requires regulation from the Ministry of Finance. It requires regulation for the Ministry of Commerce. And we have discussed this. I mean, there are things that we can do, and we know they are doable. People need to take up the mantle and do them. That's all. I have said to the Ministry of Commerce, begin to ensure that any new business or anyone who goes back to renew their business business at the business registry, ensure that one of the prerequisites to doing that, it must be you have got POSs, the automatic machines that people use when they go and buy things. central finance ministry, ensure that you do not pay checks to anybody going forward. If you have to pay anybody, pay them into their account. If they want to withdraw money from their account, the Central Bank of Liberia ensure that we limit the amount of money people withdraw from their account. Because if you withdraw money from your account, why are you withdrawing for? To buy things. Ensure that they can be able to use their cards or their phones to buy anything they want. That is what is happening globally. Until we do those things, and those things do not require legislation, they require mere regulation. Again, I use the word mere regulations, and we will ensure that those institutions come up with those regulations, that because that's the only way it can help the system. Hello. Are you there now? Hello.
Oh, sorry. Again, sorry about that. I'm saying the printing approach, according to the central bank, is 35.7 billion this year, 2021. Then LD 7.5 billion in 2022, and then LD 5.4 billion in 2003. That is the printing approach. My question is, what security and control measures have been put into place, or will be put into place, or have been articulated to avoid this $16 billion scenario embarrassment that we had before?
No. So let me start from the perspective. We have got reports, and not just from Liberia, but from Crow, that shows that there was no money missing in this country. And we need to.
That's why I use the word embarrassment. That's why I use the word embarrassment. Whichever way what money was missing on that was an embarrassment to the country.
No, Mr. Sieh, and that's why you are a journalist. So we need to be sure that we got a report that shows, and you myself know that you have read a Crow report. I'm sure if you have not, you need to read it again. There was no money missing in this country. What happened is the fact that the way people have been holding money home and not carrying it to the bank, if today we printed money without putting measures in place, the same thing will happen. What are the measures? And these are some of the things I was explaining. Until we can be strong enough to say that hoarding is an issue, why are people hoarding money in this country? People are hoarding money from two perspectives as far as I'm concerned. One, people do not trust the banks, because when they carry their money to the bank, they can't get it. Why are they not getting the money? Because those who are doing big businesses, the Fuanis, the Marua breweries, all of the big businesses are keeping private vaults in their own places. We need to come up with a way to remedy that. Either we come up with a law against hoarding, or we ensure that we pay them more interest, but I will encourage them to bring their money to the bank. That's the first thing. The second thing is we got to discourage the usage of monies. They will be using it. I mean, we got to be clear with that. If I do not have a restraint on me, and I can just walk to the bank and take 300,000 and bring it to my house, I'm having an impact on the circular flow of money. So monies are meant not to be kept in houses. Monies are meant to be kept in the bank. Monies are meant to flow into the system. Until we can do all of those things, people will continue to take monies and keep it home. I tell you, one of the reasons why people have been keeping money home, because people want to make use of the foreign exchange, the black market. That's why the central bank again must be hard on the foreign exchange market. We cannot have people changing money anyway and anyhow. Foreign exchange bureaus must be monitored more effectively. They must be made to make use of the banking system. Those are the things that must come to use. If we cannot do all of those things, we will still have this printing money over and over again. So again, I agree with you. The embarrassment that came about because of the misinformation about the loss or the siphoning of 16 billion, we need to be more careful now going forward to ensure that that kind of thing does not happen again, so that we do not embarrass ourselves the way we have embarrassed ourselves in the past.
Thank you so very much. Let me roll in my final political, a little bit of controversial question here. Talking about legislative inner working when it comes to printing money. My question is, do members of the legislature receive money before or after authorizing the printing of new banknotes in Liberia?
Oh, Mr. Sieh.
Honorable Seboe, this is a serious question. You're laughing.
No, it is not. No, you see, so let me tell you how our politics looks in our country right now. Everyone thinks that everything has to be done for politics. And for me, I'm far beyond that. For somebody to make an exception that cannot be proven, take for example, oh, you receive money before you can. It doesn't make sense. I'm doing my responsibility as a legislator, and someone comes up to say that I had to receive money before printing. Does it make sense for the central bank to print money? Yes. Is it important that we grant the approval to print money? Yes. So where in there we have to get money before we approve? It doesn't make sense. So one young man who thinks that freedom of speech means to just say anything he wants to say goes about saying that the legislators receive money before. I'm not going to bow down myself to that
and
kind
honorable,
of.
it's not only this young man Sieh who is saying it. You are aware you've been in Liberia. This news has always lingered around, and now
so
your colleague. Let me let my question, honorable Seboe, let me let my question. Akara Gray is on record. Members of the CDC are on record for accusing Senator Darius Dillon of cashing a check of 633,000 Liberian dollars as his chopping for voting to authorize the printing of the $4 billion.
No. Did you actually listen to what Akara said? Akara was intending to debunk the viewpoint of Mr. Dillon. Mr. Dillon has consistently said that he has not received monies from the Senate, from in the House or in the Senate. What was that money for? Did Akara say that it was for the printing of currency? I don't think that was what Akara said. If Akara said that, it will imply also that did he receive money in that same amount for the printing of monies? I have not received any money before when it comes to doing my job. I receive monies in the House. The check that Akara is talking about, if that's what he's referring to, I do know that there were times that legislators receive monies for the operations of their office. If that's the same amount, that cannot be equated to receiving money to print money.
So that check, you are a politician as well. That check, is that check legitimate? And what do you know that check to be for that Darius Dillon received? Allegedly.
No, I'm not Darius Dillon. I'm not Darius Dillon. I don't know why he received that check. But I do know that during the course of last year, I myself received a check for operations of my office. So if that's the same check, I don't know
how much did you receive, Honorable Dixon? Seboe, how much did you receive?
I can say off the top of my I can say off the top of my mind now. He asked me months ago.
Was it too big that you can't remember? Was it too big that you can't remember?
Even if it were too little, if I can't remember, I just can't remember. I mean,
okay.
I'm a banker. I mean, I'm an honest person.
And that's why I think you should remember figures, because you are a numbers guy.
No. If you know how many times I have received checks in a house, okay. I have received checks without numbers.
Okay.
Oh yes.
All right.
I have received checks for operations. I have received checks for many other things in the house. So how do I remember the exact amount of money we are talking about? I'm just saying, for the purpose or intent of discussing the issue of printing monies, no one, absolutely no one, as far as I know, have received 1 cent for signing on printing of monies. It does not make sense, and so I'm not going to go in that direction. That's why I started laughing initially.
All right, thank you so very much, folks. In cyberspace, you're watching Focus on Liberia. As you can see, our guest, Honorable Dixon Seboe, is basically here answering our questions. It's about time for you to call. He's going to be here in the next 15 minutes, so if you want to call, please do it right now. I'm going to keep him for 15 minutes so that he can interact with you.
You can even keep it for additional 30 minutes. I'm ready to
All
answer
right, additional 30 minutes. Let's go for it. Thank you, Honorable Seboe. So let's read in comments while we wait for folks to call. Folks, you know the number is right at the bottom of the screen in the scrolling text right there. The number is there. Make sure you enter the code with pound so you can have the opportunity to ask a question or make a comment. Honorable Seboe, let me give you a little break while I read some comments, but pay attention. Some of these comments can be questions. If you can take notes so you can respond at the end of the day. Let me read some comments here. This one is from Jimmy M. Wallow. I'm following from the headquarters of the intellectual army of the Blue Revolution in the most represented District 16. I have never doubted their abilities. Honorable Dixon symbol. Somebody is singing political hallelujah. Augustine Tama, today is my birthday. Focus on Liberia. Wow, Augustine Tama has been following us religiously. Have focused on Liberia. We say happy birthday to you. We also want to say happy birthday to Jackie Sieh. She is the host of our program, the Literary Hour here at Focus on Liberia. Siata Townsend is watching us from all the way Texas with Eagle Eye. Let's hear from Anthony Gay. Why print more money when no amount of money printing will resolve our current economic crisis without a robust fiscal and monetary policy in place? He writes. Let's hear from Jimmy again. Honorable Dixon symbol normally discuss monetary issue void of politics. This is why I love listening to him. Somebody is giving you some kudos here. Mr. Gay, again, very interesting topic. I'm going to be here asking the tough questions, he said. Let's hear from Mountain. Representative still laying his premise and he's on the off. Hope he stays so we can hear what he have to say about the 47 billion. It's actually 48.7. They hear from Person Harris. That's not true. The function of a central bank is not to print money. Printing is Treasury's function. Well, I don't know. That is what we know in Liberia. Amos K. Kanner, misleading information. Biden didn't print $1.9 trillion for his stimulus check. Somebody is holding you accountable on our 1.9 trillion. He said was not printed. Samuel is writing here. He said it will be better for the let government to buy the printing machine so they can be able to print money every month. All right, let's hear from Riverside Pro. The U.S. Treasury Department prints money almost every day. I don't know about that, but that's what he's saying. Percy, the central bank is the function. The central bank is the function of printing. Is the central bank function to print money. This person is saying, "Thank you, old man Davis." Let me hear from Sarah Dapo here. Okay, responding to somebody. I'm not going to read that one. That hear from Mark Smith. Dixon Seboe is. Oh no. Somebody is calling you a dangerous criminal and a killer. What? Yeah, these people. I don't know.
Now,
but that's his opinion. Yeah. River says, Pro, there are always new banknotes in circulation in the United States. The federal government prints money frequently. This person writes. Let's hear from Waxing here. Have the CBL put in place for citizens to have confidence in the banks so that they can take their money to the banks? That's a good question there. I think the Honorable was trying to answer that one as well. They hear from Ad Toby. The government depleted the private banks, and so the government want to print money to replace it. Sound like D-ho, cover-ho, somebody might say. I want to hear from somebody new. Okay, Melvin Deshu. After all what is said, what features are going to be put on the new banknote? I think that's a significant question there, Honorable. Mark that so that you can let us know. Let's hear from Clarence Parson. Why it is true that conventionally central banks have the authority to print money. The issue of Liberia is credibility. The concern today is primarily about administrative, financial management, and accountability. Covenant must be rebuilt on the basis of clear mechanisms to prevent future mismanagement. That person is making a point. Yeah, from Walker. Right now, it's difficult for our people to even get change for LD 500 bills. Now, you guys sitting in that corrupt house talking about LD 1000 bill, it's a shame for you to even be discussing that. See, people are giving strong opinion. Yeah, I think you are used to it. I'm used to that too. Does Liberia have the economic resources, GDP, to support the printed currency? If so, how? Inflation is a key factor in such approach. Like, yeah, from Morris here, those guys don't meet, I don't know, those guys not met for the common. Let me leave that one. I don't want to have difficulty trying to figure out your thoughts. Please take your time to write your thought. We appreciate that so that we can read it. Mark Smith, oh no. All right. Honorable Dixon, Seboe, respond to those, especially the one I talk about the features of the money. I'm interested in that too. And then we can bring in our callers here quickly, sir.
So normally when people make some exceptions, because we are politicians, we just let go because some people will just say some trash. That normal thing for us, we understand that part. So I think the guy who asked.
Yeah. Oh, what happened? What happened to my guys? Internet, don't do this to us. Don't do this to us. Okay, why he's getting Reddit? Let me keep reading some comments. Jacob Cooper, what strategy the CDC have put into place after the midterm massive defeat? Like yeah, from Blower Hinen, did the legislators question the prudence of the bank for requesting the printing of money shortly after printing several $billion? The Honorable be joining us here. Apparently, somebody might have called him. That year from Dixon. Okay, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. You broke through there.
Yeah, sorry. There was a breakthrough. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead now.
So, like I said, the colleague that asked about the issue of the future is a very great question. But like I told you, the central bank have now started the procurement process here. Normally, procurement processes will start after approvals are given. So as and when the relevant approval, the final approval is given, the central bank will begin her procurement process, and then the features and everything else around the monies will be made known, and then it'll be made public. You understand? Someone asked, yeah, of course, it's a function of central banks. Look, if you don't understand what happens in America and different jurisdictions, you need to ask. In the U.S., the Federal Reserve has given the authority about printing issue to the Treasury. The Treasury has a printing house. So in their case, it's a different issue. Every central bank, a function of a central bank is to deal with interest rate issue, is to deal with supply and demand of money issue, printing of monies. Those are functions of central banks. So if you want to challenge me on the economics of that, I don't know where you do your economics from, but we can open the economics book to know who can print and deal with money issue as a monetary function, and monetary function is normally held up by the central bank. Someone asked, and someone says Biden did not print money. Of course, every time that you see them talking about distribution money, you think that the U.S. government has $1.9 trillion sitting in one bank that they can just use? No, it doesn't work that way. The the Federal Reserve or the federal government prints monies almost every day, and the person who said that is right. If you look at some monies now, it got 2021 on it. Some monies got 2020 on it. Haven't you seen that? That's how it works. So when people make a session, I hope they understand what they are saying. If you don't understand it, just ask again. Now somebody is asking why we want to print 1,000 bills. I think I explained it to you.
Yeah, you did.
I have said to you that for the purpose of store of value, and that's why when you come to this discussion, don't just come and accusing people about corrupt. If you understand economics, let's discuss the economics in it. They decided that they want to do 1,000 bill because, again, our highest denomination is less than $1 or $5 US. So they are making that case that say, look, for the purpose of store of value and for the purpose of portability, it makes sense for us to print up to 1,000 bill. And we're not just printing that. We are also printing $5 and $10 in coin because of the velocity of the monies, because of how fast they are being used. And the central bank still has with itself coins in terms of $1, 50 cents, 10 cents, and 25 cents. All of those monies are going to be introduced and used so as to ensure that prices are calibrated at the lowest level to make sure that those who want to buy things at the lowest level can afford to do that. Somebody say, well, why print money? Because of course, yes, when you look at our monies today, they are destroyed. We don't have good monies on the market. All of the monies are mutilated, so it makes sense to print. Now, if you are asking why print new family, that's a different thing. So even if we're not printing new family of banknotes, we still have to print money because the ones we have here today are mutilated. The central bank says almost 25% of all of the money that we have today, they are mutilated. They are just lying in the vaults of the bank. They cannot be used. So how do we replace those monies? We have to print money. And central banks will always print money year on year. I think the problem we have in our country is we have politicized the printing of monies. Because of the politics around printing, that's why we are having all of these discussions. And so I hope going forward, we can depoliticize the printing of monies and we can ask tough economic questions that can be answered from time to time.
Thank you so very much. Let me bring in my callers. The man Opa Dwalu is on the line. And Honorable, please write the questions down. I have 2 persons on the line right now. Mr. Dwalu, quickly to the issue, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I have so many questions, but we don't have time. So I just want to pick the quick ones that I need Honorable to answer. I appreciate him. He seems to understand the issue at hand, and I kind of appreciate that. But I want to make a few clarities before I ask my question. First and foremost, Honorable, I will advise you, it's a recommendation that whenever you're talking about economic issues in Liberia, do not try to make the comparison with the U.S. I think it's a little far-fetched. If you want to make comparisons, consider countries such as Burundi, consider South Sudan, Malawi, Mozambique. They are comparable to our economy. You want to do that. And another thing I want to say to you, Honorable, as well, is also this. It seems that, personally, I believe banking issues should not be something the legislature concerns itself with. I'm of the conviction that this
sorry, can you go over that again?
Issues.
He said he didn't get you. Can you say that again, Opa, please?
What did he get? I said 3 things already.
No, it's the second leg.
Okay, I said if we're talking about banking issues in Liberia, we should not compare our economy to that of the U.S. We have a $21 trillion economy.
I got a point.
$3 billion. Okay, and also because I was saying, make that comparison with Burundi, South Sudan, and Malawi, etc. My second point here is also financial issues. I firmly believe most people in the legislature, especially the House of Representatives, they do not understand the intricacies of financial issues. Obviously, you're an exception because this is your area and you seem to properly understand this area. I don't know whether they're getting experts to advise them on some of the decisions that should be made when it comes to financial issues. We should consider that as well. And another thing I want to make sure also, it seems that we are printing money with a lot of regularity. So I'm of the conviction that people should get our own printing money machine so we can regulate the property. Obviously, it has to be controlled with proper laws, etc. And my final point before I ask my question is this. You talked about estimates. You said most of the stuff that's coming from the central bank is mostly estimates. And I believe it should be closer to actuals right now because we've printed money with such regularity, we should know what it costs in totality when it comes to the final product. At this point, now, it cannot be 100%, I get it. But if it's costing 8 cents, for example, to print money, we should know approximately what it should cost now. It shouldn't be estimated no more. It should be beyond estimate, even closer to actuals. But here's my first question to you, Honorable. Number one, what triggers the printing of money in Liberia? I want us to focus on Liberia specifically. What triggers the printing of money in Liberia? I know there are several factors. I would appreciate if you can give me some of those. My second point is, and you spoke to that and to some degree, it seems like you understand the issues in Liberia with surgical precision. You're diagnosing Liberia's problem. But what you're not doing is providing solution when it comes to building up the confidence issue in the banking system in Liberia. People, look, like you said, you can put $100 trillion. If the confidence is not there, people are not going to put their money in the bank. Because I'm not going to put my money in the bank. Honorable, I'm facing serious problem right now in Liberia doing the construction. So if I take frequently, sometimes $10,000, $20,000 from the bank. If you're going to stop me from taking that money from the bank, that avenue must be provided so I can still get my material to do my construction. So these are some of the issues that must be addressed. And like I said, I appreciate you, and you seem to understand the issue. Thank you so much, and thank you, brother.
All right, let me bring in the other caller, and you can respond, Honorable, please.
I wish I could just speak to Dwalo issue because it's real loaded. I mean, before I go on, but anyway,
I'm still here just in case. Yes.
All right. Hold on first, Honorable. Hey, Passing, please wait a minute. Let him respond because Dwalo threw a lot of things at him. We'll get to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think Dwalo followed the discussion very well, and he made some serious point. Now, I'm not comparing to that of the U.S. I'm speaking economics, and economics is worldwide. So if I'm talking about the economics issue, they cut across the country. Of course, it's a specific banking issue, not to compare the U.S. with sub-Saharan African countries, but the fundamentals in terms of the banking and the economics issue are basically the same. Of course, yes, a lot of people. Maybe you don't know a lot of people in the
so we can see you? Can you adjust so we can see you? The audience needs to see you. All right, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Are you seeing me now?
Yeah.
So, but it's good fundamentally, I'm sure Dwalo doesn't know a lot of people in their house. There are a lot of people in their house today who have got big financial backgrounds, who have worked in a lot of financial institutions and high-level positions, who understand the issue. It's not I alone. But again, the reason you see me talk is because, again, it's my role. I'm the chairperson on banking and currency issues, so that's why I talk. Of course, we have got controls issues dealt with. We are not going to make the same mistakes we made on the issue of the 16 billion. So even before we started discussing monies, we were concerned about audit issues in the central bank. We're concerned about their cash management issues. We are concerned about their vault management issues. So all of those issues have been dealt with, and they are still being dealt with before we can even get to what's the printing that he's talking about. He's talking about the issue, what would trigger the printing of money. But generally, the printing of money will be triggered by one of the things that will trigger the issue of the issue of printing money is the supply. If we have got more demand than supply, the central bank will decide at any point in time to print money. A second thing that's going to trigger the printing of money is if we have got more mutilated money that cannot be covered. I mean, that cannot be covered from the reserve vault, the central bank will decide to print money. So again, the supply of monies and or mutilated monies so much in the market will trigger the printing of money. So if the demand is higher than the one that is the supply, it will trigger the printing of money. So I think I've spoken to a last issue talking about the confidence. Look, I agree with you, Diallo. Nobody will take their monies to the bank if they do not have confidence in the banking sector. And that's what I've said. Some of the issues that have caused the confidence is one, the fact that the circular flow is not because if larger businesses do not carry their monies to the bank and they still drawing from the bank because people paying them checks, the whole circular flow is not going to be complete. So the only way confidence is going to be restored, one, people must carry their money to the bank. Two, the banks themselves must increase the interest rate. You cannot be telling me that I will get 2% from interest rate, but when I go to borrow money from the bank, I have to pay up to 20%. Nobody want to carry that money to the bank. I would rather keep my money home and do the normal microfinancing and credit people and get more interest. So those are all the issues that we need to look at holistically when we're talking about how we will handle the entire monetary sector. So I agree with you in part that we need to look at all of the controls issues. And again, we are looking at them because we have to be on their backs to ensure that we don't run the same risk we ran when we had the entire episode from the 60 billion issue. Thank you so very much. And I hope we can still find some more time. I will share my contact with you because, again, you got some big ideas. We can all work together to make sure that this thing works and works very well. Thank you so much, Diallo.
All right. Let me bring in the man, Mr. Harris, quickly to the issue, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Tony? Hey, Seboe, how you doing? I want to address this issue like the representative was talking about when I made a comment about that the printing of money is a treasury function, not a monetary function. It just goes to the heart of what I was saying, right? It's like no country in the world, Tony, no country in the world leaves the production of their currency to a charter bank. I advise you Dixon people to read
hello.
The central bank. Can I land?
Yeah, go ahead.
To answer.
Okay, yeah, go on.
Let me land, right? I advise Dixon to read the central bank, the law, the statute creating the central bank. The central bank is essentially a charter bank, like any other charter bank here, except that it's taxed nationally. So that's a charter bank. No country leaves the production of its currency to a charter bank. The production of a country currency is a government function, it's a treasury function. it's just as clear as day. It's not about monetary economics and whatnot. It's a division of labor, right? The government produces money, it turns it over to the central bank. The central bank infuses the money into the economy. I think it's so elementary. There's no need for us to argue about these things, big things, right? If you read economics, you know this is what these things are supposed to be. It's just compartmentalized. You can't come here and disease the people where this is just that simple. Secondly, you talk about the bank should raise interest rates. I mean, how does bank go about arbitrarily raising interest rates without a central bank? I mean, first regulate. If you know how interest rates work, I mean, ordinary banks don't just raise interest rates because they want to raise it. They take clues from the central bank. So to the extent that the central bank is not using the interest rate as a monetary tool, I don't understand how you bank this going to be. If you raise it to $500, there is no benchmark to that. I mean, nobody's going to run for these things. It's not underpinned by anything. So those are the points I wanted to make. It was more of a commentary than questions for him.
Thank you. But Person, I read myself on this. Myself disagree with you. Honestly, I disagree with you strongly. But Honorable, go ahead and respond to his commentary.
So I think Harris missed the point very well. The first thing is Diallo made a point that do not compare the U.S. to Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
If in the U.S. the Treasury is responsible to print money, are you telling me that monetary function is not printing of money is not a monetary function? Of course, yes, the monetary function, and I want to see the economics book you are using. Not because the Treasury has been asked to print money in the U.S. it makes it not a monetary function. If the Federal Reserve is the monetary people, they are the one who deal with monetary issues. And that's why in our country, the central bank function, again, is one of the functions of the central bank is to print money. And that's it. I don't know whether you can argue with me on that, but I'm prepared for that kind of argument. The second issue is, I think you missed my point when I said about raising of interest rate. Commercial banks do not raise interest rates. Who deals with interest rate? That's the central bank. The central bank deals with interest rate, and that's her function. It's a monetary tool. So I'm saying to you, if one of the reasons why people are not bringing their monies to the bank is that because they are not comfortable with the interest rates, then it makes sense to increase the interest rates for savings. Take, for example, who wants to carry their monies to the bank and get paid 2%? Nobody is going to do that. Conversely, if the person wanted monies from the bank in terms of loan, the person pays up to 18%. I'm not talking about the US. I am talking in Liberia. So you need to understand what I'm saying. So I'm saying for us to give an incentive to people to carry monies to the central bank or to the commercial banks, it will make sense for you to look at what the interest rate is today. If I will get just 2%, do I carry my monies to the bank? The other day, I wanted to do a time deposit, and I was told by the bank that they will pay me less than 3%. Do you think that was an incentive for me to carry my money to the bank? Look, if someone is making an exposition, listen to all of the details. I'm not going to question whether interest rates should be run by commercial bank. No commercial bank can carry interest rate up. Interest rates are being determined by the central bank, and commercial bank will fight with it, whether it's fixed or whether it's floating. So, I mean, that other economics is simple as simple can be. So, again, I think you are missing up on the issues that I'm raising, and I wish you can understand it better before you make that kind of assertion.
Honorable Dixon Seboe, thank you so very much. The additional 30 minutes is out, so because we don't want to take most of your time, and besides that, the few questions we had for you, you have answered them. So at this time, we will take your closing statement with the hope that we will reach out to you again.
I wish we have. I wish we can have this even more and more. I mean, there are other national issues that we can always discuss. When we come to these discussions, we come ready to be able to give the details of whatever we are asked. Again, like I said, Diallo raised some very great issues, and I'm impressed with the way he understands the issues as I was explaining. We are open as much as you want to have us again. We are open to discuss other national issues and even on the same monetary issue. But again, I will ensure that as and when we should have given the central bank their final approval and the details in terms of total that will actually cost. Mind you, I said these are estimates. Diallo make the point it's got to be approximate, but estimates and approximations are the same. process. They will not be indefinite term. What will be the total cost of print and delivery and the logistics beyond the replacement processes? Until that is done, we'll be prepared to come back again to let you know. We cannot continue to discuss monetary issue from a political landscape. We need to discuss them from an economic monetary landscape. And that's what I was doing. And some of my colleagues want to question. Again, I like the exchange, and let us do that more often so that we can be able to give the Liberian people the best of ideas they can do. We can give them to help our country move forward. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm so delighted to be here.
Mr. Seboe, Dixon Seboe, Honorable Seboe Wawuri, thank you so very much for coming to our call. Wawuri, the man who wastes the money.
Yeah.
Wawuri, thank you thank you for joining us. Don't be surprised. Some people in Negro Town come to you say the guy who interviewed you was right here. But again, thank you. We hope to do this as often as possible. Like you said, I'm happy to hear that because we have to talk about Liberia and see how we all collectively can help to make it better for our people. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. It was good being with you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, folks. Then this is how we will come to the end of the broadcast. But as you know, we usually don't leave without playing that song that unites us. And that song is We Are All Liberians. I'm Ansony Sieh. I brought you yet another exciting edition of our programs here at Focus on Liberia. Tomorrow, the hour of politics with me, your guy. We'll be talking politics, a big one. Darius DeLong. He's being accused of taking money for authorizing the printing of $4 billion. Some of them are telling us, is that true? Did Darius DeLong the Light get money for doing his job? Really? Well, I have a task tomorrow and you have a show. Let's do that. Until then, the song, We Are All Liberians, is taking us home. Bye-bye, folks. See you around.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. USA all we want. Liberia, USA all we want. Liberia, Liberia.